Hey, 6th grade, it's Mr. Frazier. This is the science lecture for Tuesday, March 24th. Today we're going to talk about fossil fuels, and then on Thursday we'll finish the section and we'll do caves. We're almost done with the chapter. We only got this section and one more left to finish our chapter on Earth. Just a side note, has to do with history, but I'm going to change the way we do the country report because obviously we aren't meeting and we already have enough on our plate. I'm going to change the date. I may even change how much of it you have to do. So do not stress out about your country report right now. We will figure it out one way or the other. So just keep an eye on your parents' email. If you have a question, call me or text me, or email me. Do not stress about it, though. Okay, but for now, let's talk about science and fossil fuels. Fossil fuels. A fossil fuel is an energy source that is made from the fossilized remains of plants and animals. So a fuel is something that you burn or that you use for energy. Non-fossil fuels would be like solar energy or wind energy. Fossil fuels are things that you burn to get that energy, but it's something that was once alive millions of years ago that has been fossilized. Now, fossil fuels are something that's very useful for us humans. However, it's also not very good for the earth. So, in the future, we would like to be able to get off fossil fuels because when you burn them, they release gases like carbon dioxide that trap the sun's energy and create global warming. But right now, we need them because we haven't figured out how to do everything from solar and green energy. There are two main types of fossil fuel: coal and petroleum. Now, they're both made of the same stuff. Kind of oversimplify it. They're, dinosaurs and plants and things from millions of years ago. But coal is a solid, rocky substance, and petroleum, as we will see, is a liquid fuel. Let's talk about coal first. Sorry. There are 4 types of coal, and this will be on your test. There is anthracite, which is hard coal. That's the highest quality and the cleanest burning. Now, like I said, when you burn fossil fuels, they emit gases that are not good for the planet. Coal is kind of the worst of the bunch in terms of the smoke or the exhaust that it gives off, but anthracite is relatively cleaner than the other types, and so it burns hotter, gives more energy, and gives less pollution. So it's the highest quality and the most expensive. After anthracite, you have bituminous coal, also called soft coal, and this is the most common type. It's found throughout the earth, and it's not as good as anthracite, but it's better than the other kinds, and it's abundant. So, during the 1800s and the 1900s, even today we use it, but that's when they were, the big cruise liners like the Titanic and trains. If you think of an old Western train as it's going down the railroad and there's black smoke coming out of there, that is coal, and usually bituminous coal. After bituminous, we have subbituminous, which is, as you can probably guess from the prefix sub, like bituminous coal, just not in high quality. And lastly, we have lignite, also known as brown coal. And this is the dirtiest of the bunch. This is the kind that is a last resort. countries in the past who did not have the same reserves or the same amount of money would burn the lignite. Now, the bituminous and subbituminous coals get their name from a substance called bitumen, and it's a tar-like substance that's found in soft coal, and it's also called coal tar. Not very creative, but if you remember when we went to the La Brea tar pits and we saw all that kind of black gooey tar, that is kind of reminiscent of that bitumen. You're going to need to know that for your test as well. Right, there's a picture of guys digging out the coal. You can see it's kind of that hard, black, rocky substance. And you throw that rock in to the fire, and if you burn it, it releases energy, and you can turn that into fuel. All right, coal mining. How do you get the coal out of the ground to burn it? There are two types: surface mining and underground mining. Surface mining is when the coal beds, or the seams of rock that where the coal is, are relatively shallow. We're talking about 150 feet or so. And in that situation, they just strip the rocks that are above it and carry it away using huge bulldozers and trucks, dump trucks. They use explosives and kind of blow up the whole side of the mountain and then tow away all the rocks and dig up all of the coal. All of those rocks that are on top that they need to get away or get out of the way are called overburden. Here's a picture of it. You see how down at the bottom of that picture there's the black coal, and then above it the rocks, and there's just line after line of trucks, and so they'll use dynamite or C4 to blow up the rocks on top, and then they'll just pour them into the trucks and move them out and dump them out of the way so they can get access to the coal. That's surface mining. You can see there's no tunnels or dark passageways. They're just all out on the surface. The other type is underground mining. And this is much more labor intensive and difficult. Miners dig vertical tunnels called shafts deep into the Earth's crust. And they use this when the coal beds are more than 150 feet deep. So 150 feet is 15 stories straight down. If you remember that big white building that's across the street from our school, that's probably 15 stories tall. So imagine that deep. And that's the shallowest layer. So they go hundreds and hundreds of feet deeper into the earth than that. Now today they have safety regulations, and they have masks and inspectors and all of this, but back in the day when they were digging deep mines to get the coal, they didn't have any of that, and being a coal miner was dangerous. In fact, they even had a disease that coal miners would get called black lung, where they'd be breathing in all that coal, and it was obviously very bad for them. So today we don't mess around with stuff like that. But coal's valuable, so they'll dig down deep to get it, hundreds of feet if they need to. Kaboom! The other fossil fuel, and the one that is most used today, is petroleum. Now, the word petroleum means rock oil, and once again, it's made from fossilized organic matter. So dinosaur bones and skins and ancient plants that were buried in Earth's crust, and then the heat and pressure of the Earth's subsurface changed it into petroleum. And petroleum is liquid. It is not like a rock solid form like coal. And petroleum is made up of different substances called hydrocarbons. And hydrocarbons are made up of hydrogen and carbon. You and I are carbon-based life forms. We're made of carbon. Dinosaurs were. Woolly mammoths were. Every living thing is made up of carbon. And so you think of a mixture of that organic material with hydrogen, and that's what you're getting. And petroleum is found in the Earth's crust in little kind of hollow um, patches in the Earth's crust, or in porous areas of the Earth's crust. Porous is like a sponge, right? So it kind of soaks up. And petroleum is so valuable that they will go out into the Arctic Ocean and go. If you see that picture, that's an oil derrick, and they send the drills through the ocean all the way to the bottom of the ocean floor, and then they start digging. So this is serious, serious business. And whole countries like Russia and Saudi Arabia make billions of dollars digging up petroleum, and that's because petroleum can be used for so many things. But when you get the petroleum, when you dig it out of the ground, it's just kind of a black tar substance, and so you need to refine it. So petroleum in the ground is not much use to anybody. But if you can refine it or distill it, you can turn it into things that are very useful. We call this process fractional distillation. I know this is not the most interesting thing in the world, but try and stay with me. So fractional distillation is when you refine crude oil into its different parts, the hydrocarbons into their different parts, or fractions. Now that's not what I want. Bam, here's the picture that we want. So you pump out the crude oil, or petroleum, and you can see on the left of the picture there's a heater. You boil it up. And as you boil it, it changes its form. And so the heaviest stuff, the heaviest part of the petroleum, will obviously sink to the bottom. And that's the bitumen, or like the coal. And we use that for the asphalt. The roads that we drive on are made from this stuff. Then just the slightly lighter but still heavy stuff is made into like heavy diesel oils or lubricating oils. And just above that, you get these slightly lighter forms of hydrocarbons, and that was made into like gasoline for cars or anything, paraffin wax. There's hydrocarbons in makeup and lipsticks, in plastic bottles that we use to drink. So petroleum is literally touches all aspects of our life. So each level that you see in this picture, bitumen, fuel oil, lubricating oil, diesel, kerosene, each of those is a fraction of the hydrocarbons. So you dig out the petroleum from the ground, you heat it, and that fractional distillation is changing it into those different things that you can then use for paint thinner or to pump into your car to drive or whatever. So that's the process of refining petroleum. Now, on Thursday, we're going to talk about caves. But remember, all of this stuff is in your book. So you want to be doing the required reading and then watching these videos to kind of help you if you don't understand, or act as a supplement for the reading that you should be doing from your textbook. And so this doesn't really add a whole lot of new things. It's the reading that you want to do, and then listen to this if you're having trouble with it. Remember, text me, email me, call me if you need to, if you have questions, but don't just let things go by because you don't want to fall behind. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well, and I can't wait till we're back in class. Stay safe. See you guys soon.